Let's do business. It's 55 minutes around the world of business. That's what we do on Business Incorporated. For this episode, here's what we have prepared for you. Come February, South Africans will pay more for fuel, different categories of fuel. A new discovery of gas in Egypt, and that's been done by ExxonMobil. And expectations from the Trump administration is still a major conversation around the world, even here in Africa. We'll look at some changes expected. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's do business, starting from the global space as usual. We say that oil prices fell on Tuesday as investors assess U.S. President Donald Trump's plans to apply new tariffs later than expected while boosting oil and gas production in the U.S. And we saw a lot, or heard a lot, of executive orders. We'll tell you a little bit about that. So we see Brent for this afternoon is down 0.01% at $80.14 a barrel, while WTI is also down, but much more than that. As we know, this is for what the United States produces. That's the WTI. So we see more impact there, 0.78% at $76.79 a barrel. And some of those pronouncements or words by the new president, President Trump, he did not impose any sweeping new trade measures right after his inauguration as feared, but told federal agencies to investigate unfair trade practices by other countries. He also said that he was thinking of imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico from February the 1st rather than on his first day, as was expected. A promise that the tariff reprieve initially helps to push oil prices down, but duties on Canadian crude could eventually drive the market higher. Also pressuring prices on Monday was a stronger US dollar, as its strengthening makes oil more expensive for holders of other currencies. Trump laid out an extensive plan to accelerate oil, gas, and power permitting in order to maximize already record high US energy production. Well, the US president also said that his administration would probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. The United States is the second biggest buyer of Venezuelan oil after China. And Trump also promises to refill strategic reserves, a move that could be bullish for oil prices by boosting demand for U.S. crude oil. So a whole lot was words we heard from President Trump as it was being inaugurated yesterday. Away from the metals market, but even there, we still see a lot of impact from that swearing in of President Trump. Gold prices rose for a second session on Tuesday as dollar weakened, with markets evaluating the possible consequences of President Donald Trump's policies in his second term after his inauguration. Look at the numbers. At this time, we start from spot gold. It's up 0.6%, $2,724.74 per ounce. US gold, 0.2% down, $2,742.50 per ounce. Silver is up 0.4%, $30.61, while platinum is down 0.1%, $941.30. And palladium is in the red, 1.2%. To $933.25 per ounce. And we know that the dollar also did lose yesterday about 1% after reports suggesting any new taxes will be imposed in a measured way. A weaker dollar, we know, makes gold more attractive. Now, Jackson International Credit Rating Company Limited has awarded a AAA stable rating to the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, recognizing it as a leading multilateral financial institution on the continent. Afreximbank, we know, is the first African MFI to receive this rating from CCXI, and the rating detailed in a report highlights the bank's strong strategic positioning effective risk management, and also profitability and liquidity. CCXI also praised Afreximbank's ability to meet the diverse needs of its member states, even in challenging time. We come back home, but still around the banks. The number of bank verification number, that's BVN, enrollment in Nigeria has increased by 1.33 million. That's about 2.1%, reaching 64.8 million in January 2025. And that's up from 63.47 million at the end of last year, 2024. The BVN enrollment also grew by 3.36 million. That's about 5.6% in 2024 compared to 60.12 million at the end of the previous year, 2023. Despite this growth, data from the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIPS, shows a gap between the number of active bank accounts, which is about 231 million as of July 2024, and the number of BVNs which are required to open an account. According to the 2023 survey by FINA, 5%, that's about 3 million of banked adults, still lack BVN, or National Identification Number, NIN. In October 2024, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced a new non-resident BVN platform to enable Nigerians in diaspora to manage their accounts and KYC processes remotely. All right, so we would be going to Davos any time from now. As you know, our vice president is there. He leads the envoy from the Nigerian envoy to Davos, where the World Economic Forum is happening in Switzerland and is going to last almost all through the week. We're going to have Emperor Simon, our correspondent, to join us later. But for now, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll do that as speaking to Emperor and a whole lot more on the show. Stay with us. Welcome back to Watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. And just before the break, we gave you some headlines and some expectations on the program. Well, I think yesterday was World Trump Day, but the effect is still reverberating all around the world, especially after those executive orders that he did give. Very interesting ones. Africa was not mentioned directly, but we know that a lot of Africans will be affected one way or the other. But let's get the perspective now of the products lead in Africa of Branch International, Adani Anene, right here in the studio. Hi, Adani. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So I'm sure you followed the inauguration and all the pronouncements, and I believe one of those that stands out for Africans is the one about the childbirth and citizenship. We know a lot of Africans used to do that, so it seems that era is over, I think. But leaving that, the issue of the tariffs and import duties, everybody was scared that, first day of inauguration, we're going to hear that, but it's been postponed, even if it's just postponing the evil days, and we saw the market react to that. I wonder if that gives Africans a bit of reprieve, if eventually when it happens, I want to use when, because it seems we're sure that it's going to happen, if we can expect major changes in our trade relations, in our handling of, U.S. relations and all of that.
Well, of course, I watched everything and I followed everything. Really interesting inauguration, really interesting first day. Everybody knows that Trump has taken up a protectionist policy, and it's America first, and he's protecting American interest throughout. I think that the trade tariffs, I have a feeling that it's not going to affect Africa, or even if it affects Africa, it's going to affect Africa indirectly. First of all, we have the AGOA agreement, which was signed between Africa and US, and I think that that is going to be renewed in 2025. If for any reason it's not renewed in 2025, that is when we'll feel the brunt of the changes in the policies. But if it's renewed, I think this is going to be a good dispensation for Africa. And also, when I say it's going to affect Africa indirectly, I'm referring to the trade tariffs that will probably most likely be placed on China, because Africa is a big exporter of raw materials to China. And if there are trade tariffs increased on China, that could reduce the demand for supply for raw material from Africa. And so that is a way that it could indirectly affect us. And then one other way, which I think that could be positive for Africa, and especially for the tech industry, which I belong to, is I think that this is going to be a crypto-friendly, AI-friendly policy dispensation. And so in those ways, I think that Africans can breathe a sigh of relief, but also hope that the AGO is not affected.
That's the AGOA, yes.
Yes, the AGOA.
Okay,
yes,
but if that's affected, then that's a direct impact on African trade and import and export.
Of course, because the AGOA is an agreement that was signed between Africa and the US in 2000, I believe, and it's renewed periodically, and it's due for renewal, incidentally, in 2025. And it reduces tariff on major exports from Africa, almost 90%. And so if that is removed or if that is not signed, then for some reason, then Africa, all the 54 countries are going to feel the brunt of the new tariffs. But I keep my fingers crossed that it will be signed.
Yeah, well, at least the signing of that tariff, it has been postponed for a bit.
Yes.
We even saw the dollar react to that. Yeah. So, but how do we see, looking at Africa and all of that, its policies and the movement of the dollar? Now we know even our debts are being serviced. So anything that happens to the US economy, anything that happens to the dollar also affect us. How do you see it from that perspective?
Well, I think Africa is mostly import dependent. You know, a lot of our spending, a lot of our debts, a lot of our economic policies, we denominate in dollars. And so if the dollar keeps appreciating, so it is a two-edged sword. It could potentially be negative in terms of our debts becoming bigger. However, I think that in terms of incoming and inflows, we should expect some positivity to that effect. So it's just a two-edged sword.
And then there's a hint that the strategic reserve of the U.S. oil would be filled up. But the thing is, U.S. deals with WTI. We do Brent. Is there a way we can benefit from that?
Well, there's always a way to benefit. There is always a way to benefit. It's a bit vague right now because we're on parallel paths. But I think that we should just stick with what we're doing and make sure that we're on the positive side of whatever relations we have with America, because Trump has said that it's America first. And whoever is putting America first is who Trump is going to prioritize.
So we have to say it's Africa first, or at least Nigeria first.
Yes, of course, it's Nigeria first, it's Africa first. However, when you're in a place of, what's the word to use, disadvantage, where you are reliant on this other economy, then you have to create a very perfect balance so that you feel the positivity from the new dispensation.
So what should African countries be doing at this time, maybe to hedge or make the most of the America First stance of President Trump?
Well, I think the Africa economy should become very introspective. We've always been preaching for this. We should try and push our self-reliance. There are 1.3 billion people in Africa. I think that we could promote our own trade within Africa. The AFCFTA was created, I think, in 2001 to enhance trade between African countries. And so that could be enhanced and made better, and we could create better processes with the AFCFTA so that we're trading better within ourselves. I know that we're reliant on the US economy and other regions, but finding a way and a balance to create this trade within ourselves. Also, I think we should diversify and just reduce the dependence on our trade relationships with the US and China. I think we should diversify to other Asian countries. I think we should diversify to Europe. And so that could help hedge against whatever is coming from the US.
And that would be interesting, but it's just that things like payment system within Africa,
Yeah.
travel, papers, bureaucracy within Africa, these are major distraction to moving in this perspective, in this direction.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We've thought about that a lot. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of regulation. There are 54 countries. It's very tough to find a common ground. So, in pushing for a better sub-Saharan, intra-sub-Saharan trade process, we should build better payment systems. We should build a Pan-African payment system that works for all the sub-Saharan African countries. We should also place an emphasis on creating ease in regulation with trade between African countries, and also just focusing on creating a agreement to hedge against currency fluctuation, because that's what creates the fear and the lack of trust between two countries in trading within Africa.
All right, I do hope we can do that, especially seeing that President Trump is very emphatic about America first. Africans also have to look out for themselves. Well, thank you so much, Adani, and then a products lead in Africa for Branch International. Thank you for your perspective.
Thank you very much.
Now, we did promise you that we're going to give you updates from Davos, where our correspondent, Emperor Simon, has been following events right there. It's day 2, started officially yesterday. So now we have Emperor. Hi, Emperor. How's the cold there?
Davos. It's cold here in Davos as usual, on this snowy mountain that is about 5,000 feet above sea level. And this is where world leaders are gathering to discuss the state of the world's economy and how to improve it. And of course, Nigeria is here represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, alongside some members of delegation from Nigeria, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Trade and Investment, as well as the Director General of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. So here in Davos, Nigeria is well represented, as I said, and in the coming days, we will be seeing, discussions from the Vice President, who will be engaging in several bilateral meetings in it.
Yeah, so we're told that 3,000 leaders, almost all countries represented, and then there was also supposed to be interaction with President Trump virtually. Any idea if that happened? And what are the world leaders actually talking about? I know the theme for this year is connected to AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so as you have said, there have been talks about President Donald Trump being part of the 2025 World Economic Forum. And he's not the only one that will be attending this meeting. Quite a lot of leaders from across the world will be attending this meeting. And of course, as you have said, the focus this year is on artificial intelligence, one area that has become the trend in the world. And Nigeria is also keen into all the opportunities that artificial intelligence offer at this critical time of the world, where a lot of things are shifting. Intelligence, whether it's in the area of communication, agriculture, health, and so on and so forth. So we see that that's the focus this time around, and we're hoping that Nigeria will take active, advantage of the opportunities that WEF offers.
So we know that the Vice President, President Shettima, is going to be attending a major event later on today. Do we have an idea what else to expect, or what kind of meeting that is?
Oh, hello, Edie. I couldn't hear you. Could you
Okay.
please repeat the question?
Yeah, I was asking about meetings expected later on today. We know that our vice president is also going to be participating.
Hello, Edie.
All right, does seem
Hello,
like
Edie.
Simon, can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you were saying earlier, but
Okay, I was
could you,
asking, I
yeah,
was
could you repeat?
asking, I was asking for expectations, the meetings that are expected today, and our vice president, especially around our vice president.
A number of things that to hold during this period. It's a week-long event, and the vice president will be engaging in several bilateral discussions and meetings. As I said, for today, we haven't yet got the itinerary, but we understand that the vice president has some meetings that are slated for today already. Discussions are ongoing. So it's hopeful that Nigeria will leverage the opportunities that the World Economic Forum offers, whether it's in the area of economy, in the area of security, in the area of education, agriculture, investment, and so on. So it cuts across various sectors. What Nigeria stands to gain from this event, Amy.
All right, Emperor, thank you so much. I know that by the end of this week, we're going to have loads of reports from you. So do stay warm and we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, hopefully we will keep you informed of every event that is taking place and bring you the updates as they happen.
Yeah, trust you to do that. Thank you so much, Emperor. So that's a correspondent in Davos, Switzerland, covering the World Economic Forum, Emperor Simon. Now let's head to the NGX studio at the NGX in Marina, Lagos. Willie Bong is standing by to give us intraday numbers and as well as, I believe, a conversation. Will.
Thank you, Ini. It's good to see you from this end of the curve. Let me put it that way, because right at the NGX, this is where the action is, and definitely we'll get to the meat of the matter. But just very interestingly, I just want to point out, yesterday we were talking about what Trump would say, and I was really excited to know what he would, spew out of his mouth. One of those things we always anticipate Trump would bring the drama on, and the reaction. One of the things he said was that he was going to start, imposing tariffs on, Canada and, in China, very soon. And, the reaction also from the vice premier of China saying that, there is no war, there's no trade war, there's no need for it, because that would not benefit any country at all. And so those are the things that we are hoping to see people talk about in the coming days. But before we delve into more of, that of that matter, I have with me in the studio who's going to be talking about what's going on in Nigeria. Mr. Ambrose Omodion is the Chief Research Officer in Invest Data Consulting. Good afternoon. Just a bit of reaction to what is happening in Trump. What do you think about Trump's policies on tariffs and taxes? Seeing that Nigeria, basically, we depend on the dollar, where most of our imports are in the dollar denominated. So how do you think when Trump decides to impose these tariffs, how does it impact Nigeria mostly? Very quickly.
Not only Nigeria, I see it's a threat to the global economy. But I believe that also the economy will always flip to another side, because when you are bringing up policy, there are also people are going to digest that policy and come in another dimension. That means when you are threatening Canada, China, they also look inward where either can do, because putting tax also a threat to your own economy as well. Because if you put tax, automatically inflation in your economy, that means going to affect also your economy fundamental. I believe that it's a thing of rubber mind. Going to the future, we'll see Trump and other global leaders coming together to set up for Nigeria. I believe that Nigeria today, because we are still and over dependent on importation, we're going to hit us if the dollar starts getting more strength and not start going up. But if the dollar become weaker, we'll smile. But if it become stronger, it's going to hit us. For I believe that this time for our own economic managers to sit down and rethink how can we drive Nigeria economy over depending on foreign investors or trying to hold them with a high interest rates should be suspended, kind of battle down this time, this place 25 to see that if we can drive the economy, we are doing well, let the performance of the Nigerian economy attract inflow from anywhere.
Okay, so speaking of inflows, we've got some inflows on the NGX. The market is in the green at intraday. What stocks are they want to spill the beans? What stocks are driving this positive, strong momentum as we speak?
Yeah, actually, when the the information came to the market yesterday that telecommunications sector has successfully had an increase in terms of tariff also in their charges. That means for data, for call card, and all. That is a plus for the sector, because before now I was seeing the company there posting a lot of red as a lot of whether FS issue or the other. But now increasing their tariff also be a plus for them. It might not be overnight profit today, but it's already a kind of a stage or kind of a movement for where they are now to profitability, because already we have seen that companies on NGS have done well even with what increment in price. That means now they are increasing price for telecom. I see it also affecting their bottom line going to the future. But seeing MTN gaining 10% today, for me, it's a good movement in the first level. That will know that MTN will now move to 400 immediately. Or to start seeing this policy change in their performance, and also seeing them also take advantage of the policy change to expand their network the more, and also bring more infrastructure that will help them to deliver quality service. Now, if you use your price also to deliver quality price service. If that will happen, that will say we expect MTN, we expect Airtel to be in the north direction, and that's also going to help the market to remain in green this year, because you see the life of Airtel moving to like 3,000, MTN moving to like 400 or 500. Nigeria stock market 325 will end in green, because these are high capital that change the market.
Okay, so speaking of profitability, where do you expect to find this money? Not from individuals, I hope, because if they increase it, this is a 50% increase we're talking about here, Ambrose. So if it's increased by 50%, how much of the average Nigerian can afford this, and how would this hit the bottom line of the company?
Actually, we're already what we call internet economy, where people are going to for Zoom meeting, a lot of things that need internet. Today, people are not watching normal TV, or they're FLS and all that. And I believe that this is the time that technology has come to stay, internet has come to drive that technology. And Nigeria saying we're the digital economy. Any digital economy need internet. That means if we really are going to drive internet, that means this is going to make money. And also, the companies that are really on that system will not say because of 50% increase, they want to drop their technology. No, I think they want to add more. Good thing is that if they spend more, this company will make money. If the individuals, the retail consumers are not using, but don't forget that when there's increase in price in anything, whether you are having less service or less product, or let's say less volume of product or service, you're going to also make money, because already there's an increase in price. If, for example, there are 20 people that are using MTN before, in a village, they drop to 10 because of increase, and price has also increased. They're only getting the same value for them. Probably that is fair for me.
Shareholders will definitely be the ones smiling here. So let's just go to another interesting event that is taking place right here at the NGX today. We have Stanbic IBTC Bank, doing the facts behind the offer for their rights issue, which opened last week. They have over 2.9 billion shares on offer, worth over 481 billion naira. I just want to understand, just like other banks that have come on board, with their public offering rights, why is Stanbic IBTC choosing the way of a rights issue only, and not just the combination of the rights issue and public offer to be able to get more people and more funds?
If you look at the structure of Stanbic IBTC, each bank has their own category. We'll have the international banks, have the national bank. For Stanbic IBTC, belong to the national bank. That means they are aiming to have 200 billion as CBN required as minimum capital bills for the bank. They can surpass it, fine, which is good. Already they have about almost 120 or 119 billion before now. Now the right issue, as you mentioned, we get about 148. That means they've crossed the threshold of 200 even in SS. And don't forget that also the shareholding structure is very tight. And the Standard Bank, International has about almost 68% of Stanbic IBTC. If they recapitalize, automatically they meet their word. The capital base, for me, that's why they are not struggling to go to the war of public offer. That means also helping them to further enlarge their share. But with this right issue, they can also manage their share in issue, and that also impact their price. And don't forget that in the industry today, that is the price that remains more stable. We call them one of the defensive banking stock. That even with all this, you can see the price that remains above 50 naira, and also the only board that have touched 80 naira, last year till now. Tell you that bank is solid, but now they are doing it for me. They know how to manage their shares. But not tell you numbers of shares matters. If a family has 12 children and 4 children, if they are sharing one chicken, the one that has 4 children will eat enough chicken, while the one that has 12 will be scarcely for chicken. Now, Stanbic has less fear in issue. That means the shareholders have robust return in terms of dividend.
And so, what's current share price for Stanbic IBTC as we speak?
Now, the market is about 59 naira.
59 naira for Stanbic IBTC.
Yeah.
So it's one of those banks that have the expensive share price. So not a lot of people will probably be buying Stanbic, or you think people are buying Stanbic?
I said that the share structure is very tight. That means it's not in the much hand, just few hands. And because they have Sudan that has about 68%, they're okay. And that is how to manage some companies. That's why all those big cap companies are seen like Nestle. That Nestle has having some for what we call FS issue. That has just share issues very few, and more in the Nestle International. That means it's all in Nigeria's hand. Only if that means the price can remain stable, even though you are buying and selling, because the main share is with somebody that is not ready to sell. It also helps them to manage the price.
Okay, fantastic. So how do you see the markets? Definitely, it might close in the green, but you never know about the market. It can flip at any time. So what do you see? What is your futuristic, view of the market for the rest of the week and possibly next month? Do you see a correction anytime soon? Because the momentum seems strong. Do you think it will be a reversal in trend?
Actually, if you look at technically, market is just trying to come back to to really straight. Before now, it has been shaken up and down, but now the market is saying above 50 days moving average. For me, it's a good one for the market. But because because of MTN is one leading the market to the 10%. I don't see the market going red today. But good news that for 4 days now, I think the market trying to recover from the for the low of about almost 100,000 share in the market back to 102. For me, it's a good one for the market. Only that investors also be looking at any seasons ahead. Don't forget that is the season that we expect to see liquidity, you see more volume, you see more volume. That means this is what's going to trade the market between now and end of January, because of what we expect to see more Q4.
Okay, just for a moment now, just hold on for your thoughts there. We just want to, for our DSTV audience, we just want to quickly sign out for a live event. This is just for the DSTV audience. Our other programming continues on other platforms. So we have the FCTA, which is having a program today, construction of the Yangoji Sukuku Ebo Road, which is 11-kilometer road within Kwali Area Council in Abuja. So it's going to be only on the DSTV live platform. So all other platforms will still continue with our Business Incorporated program. So you can tune in to watch that. It's a very interesting thing happening in Abuja. And also, stay tuned for us here on Business Incorporated on our other programming channels. So let's go straight back to what you were saying very quickly. Let's try to wrap this up now. So the markets for the month of January, do you see it in terms of the year, month to date? Where do you see it hanging?
Yes, we're seeing the market is marginally in red for year to date, but I believe that the trend for the month of January will still repeat itself, because once we start seeing all this earnings to change the face of the market, I'll tell you, 1 week alone is enough to change the index to green. Don't forget that in the history of Nigerian market, for past almost 6 years now, we're seeing January delivering value for the market. That's a sign that January is a good month for investors, because of the new policy from NGS. The company had to release their numbers for the last quarter of the year within this month of January. As the numbers are coming, now giving investors insight of what the full year will look like. Those are going to pay dividend in March. Okay. For me, this is the right time for people to position. That's why all eyes are listening to the number as they come to now give us more insight where you should put more money on, where you should also live. But don't forget that to hold stocks is a function of earnings. When earnings are good, you can hold your stock. When they are not good, you sell up, because we don't marry stock in any time, any day. Once they are not performing, you dump them, you go for the one that's performing.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Ambrose Amodion, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting, for joining us live here at the NGX and sharing your perspective on the program. So I'll just come back now. We'll look at the numbers that trended at intraday. Let's look at the NGX. We're seeing the all-share index for the NGX at 0.71%. That's really strong. And MTN being bullish there at intraday, giving us that strong number. And look at the flip side, or the GSA, that's in South Africa, is also doing well, 0.26%, not bad. And we look at the EGX in Egypt, also up 0.61%. But let's see Kenya's close for Monday's session, also in green territory, not bad for Africa. So look at Middle East markets, we see Dubai, let's see that number up 0.45% for Dubai. Abu Dhabi is also up. We see very positive sentiment for Africa and Middle East there. Abu Dhabi up 0.11%. The Tadawul in Saudi Arabia is also up 0.88%, and Qatari index is up 0.12%. Asia markets now, they mostly rose on Tuesday, closed in a green because investors were awaiting clarity on U.S. policies, especially, Trump's second coming. They wanted to know what he had to say, and some of them were very cautious, but it still ended in the green for most of them. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 was up 0.32% to close business. South Korea's Kospi was down 0.08%, and we see Hong Kong in China, was up 0.91% in the final hour of trade, and China, Shanghai, on the other hand, fell 0.05% to end the day. The Nifty 50 in India was also in the red at the close of Asia markets. Now, several central banks in Asia are going to be meeting later this week, to discuss rates. This is a very important thing for the banks in that region. The Bank of Japan is holding its next policy meeting January, in this month as well. So we're going to be expecting the Bank of Japan to hold rates, possibly to hold their meeting and determine what interest rates will be. Now let's flip now to the U.S. markets. The Dow Jones futures in the green. Everybody seems to be happy with Trump, So 0.46% bullish sentiment there. S&P 500 futures also in the green, 0.51%, and the Nasdaq futures was up 0.59%. So what can I say, Ini? The market is happy with Trump for now. Let's see if we'll continue to be happy with him in the coming days.
Yeah, well, I hope so, that it to be happy, well, although a stronger dollar is not so good for us. But thank you so much, Will, for that. Now, let's head to Berlin, where the threat of coronavirus, it came back. But we are still reeling from the impact of the last one. The pandemic is over, hopefully, but it changed some things and has left some things changed in our lives. The work life seem to be persisting. In Germany, there seems to be a trend of employees doing as much work as possible remotely, and it's beginning to irritate some companies and economists. Last, what's this about?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, Ini. Thanks for having me. Now, first and foremost, I want to just clarify, COVID is not coming back. At least here we're not seeing anything of it. So I want to tell you a little bit about the aftermath. We are seeing a problem here. Like you mentioned, that people got a bit used to working from home, call it home office or remote work, and it has certainly had its advantages back a couple of years ago during that pandemic when work needed to get done, ideally without getting others in the office sick. And remote work still has tremendous advantages. Of course, it cuts down on commute, on time spent in traffic, on emissions. Some also, of course, prefer working in the quiet of their home, possibly instead of a large office with dozens of colleagues. So I guess everyone understands the pros of remote work, but it seems not everyone is equally aware of the cons. And with people spending more time at home and less time in the office, some tasks might still get done efficiently, but others are not. And there's less a debate among coworkers, and no matter what video conference program you use, of course, in many cases, it helps sitting down with a colleague to go over whatever is the task at hand. Also, now many bosses can't entirely shake the feeling that while some work gets done diligently at home by employees, other employees might just use half their time to do whatever they like, empty the dishwasher, take the dog for a walk, and that is costly for companies. It costs a lot of money, it lowers productivity, and by extension, of course, revenue and profit, and that is something that no company can easily afford.
So what are these companies planning to do about this abuse?
Well, they've been calling people back in, and that's true for companies large and small. Some of the biggest banks here have ordered people back, but also mid-sized offices. Now, that seems to be easier said than done, though, because the latest phenomenon corporate Germany is discussing is coffee badging. It's when employees go to work, swipe their pass at check-in, have a coffee, maybe a chat, and then move back into home office again. That seems to be happening more and more often. A recent survey says 38% of German employees have actually engaged in coffee badging. And it's not just a German problem. Other countries see the same phenomenon. I just read a study out of the United States. Apparently 44% there admitting to the same behavior in the survey. And, well, it's cheating. First of all, companies are asking people back specifically to have them available at headquarters for customers, for meetings, and that's not happening. But they're now also paying for the time people take to get back home. An attorney looking into this phenomenon says this is essentially fraud, and it can be dangerous because it could be reason for termination. Now, as for Germany, this general attitude of putting in a bit less, ideally while getting a little raise every year or so, it comes at a really inopportune time when our country's economy is weak and it probably needs a bit of an extra effort.
Yeah, every country needs extra effort at this time last. But what are investors looking at intraday?
It was interesting today. A couple of good news out there that affect trading. Good news coming from industry sources. The auto industry seems to be getting in more orders. So maybe it seems after a couple of rough years with competition from China growing and market share dropping, German companies in that sector are seeing a little bit of a bottom building and eventually maybe a bit of a recovery coming up. Backed by this bit of a bump here for the auto sector, industrial orders in general are up. So that's definitely good news. Still, a new survey dropped this morning and it shows that analysts are expecting only a weak recovery for Germany's economy after 2 years of recession. Well, at least a weak recovery is better than no recovery at all. It's obviously very early in the year, so let's see what we'll get.
All right, Lars, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Ini.
All right, now let's talk about copper in the commodities space. Nigeria has a major power problem. That's not news anymore, but we do know that we do have potential to solve this problem. And one of that is in copper, which we do have in the country now. We saw a drop in the price of copper by 8.2%, about $4 per pound over the past 3 months, beg your pardon. Considering the high costs associated with cable products, how can this reduction in the price of copper impact Nigeria, particularly in the real estate, which, you know, copper is a major raw material? Let's have Teva Kumeka join us now for this to share his findings. Hi, Teva. So, well, I don't know if to say it's good to hear the price of copper is reducing, but what impact can this have on our economy?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ine. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, what you read is correct. We've seen the price of copper drop in the last 3 months, and that's likely going to continue. The impact might not be immediately felt because this takes a process, because the byproducts of copper, which include cable and other things that go into the real estate sector, there's a process to it. But in the medium term, we expect the price of this commodity, like cable and the rest, to ease in the medium term. What is the impact of this? As the prices of cable and other commodities, byproduct of copper is, we expect low cost of inputs into the real estate sector. If the price of input reduces, then we expect affordability to increase, which a lot of persons are going to be able to afford accommodation. So like I said, the price might not be immediately felt, but as we move on, it's going to be impacted. Then, but there's an angle to it, which is the impact of exchange rates. We have seen that the exchange rate in Nigeria has stabilized since December, and if that continues, then the imports of this product will also stabilize. And as the import stabilizes, investors will have enough confidence in the markets to make long-term plan. So as the community resources, this will attract more investment in the sector, and we will see prices of housing, which include, because the real estate has residential, commercial, and mixed use. So we'll see a reduction in accommodation, we'll see a reduction in industrial use for real estate, and the mix coming down in the medium term.
Now, The Economist is forecasting that prices will rise by about 4.5% this year, 2025. We know that Nigeria has, well, large deposits of copper. Are we likely to benefit from this possible rise in the price of copper?
Yeah, the forecast for a rise at the end of the year is a good one, but the market is dynamic. We might not see that coming out to play completely. And with the inauguration of Donald Trump, a lot of things are going to be happening in the world, because he believes in he's a businessman. So we are going to be seeing a lot of dynamics in that sector. But what we'll see immediately is that there's going to be an increase in cost of transmission, because copper is used for cable, which is used to transmit power to the other sectors of the economy. So we're going to be seeing an increase in the cost of transmission, but Nigeria needs to do more in terms of, because if you remember, we experienced about 16 to 17 national grid collapse in the last 13 months. That's more than once in a month. So we need to overhaul our national power infrastructure to be able to benefit from this transition. So the increase in transmission will likely affect manufacturers. So as manufacturing is affected, there will be delay in infrastructure development. So as delay in infrastructure development continues, then we're already having issues of shortage of housing in Nigeria. So this will be made worse. But there's another angle also to it, which is the supply challenges. We're having we know issues of national resource nationalism and environmental regulation. So if resource nationalism comes in with the issue of Trump, then we're going to see a lot of supply disruptions, which might make the price of copper to go forward. Nigeria as a country has, in terms of resources, copper, we have deposits about 10 million tons.
Yeah, we always have the potentials, Teva.
Yeah, we have the
Exactly.
potential.
In most things, we do have the
Take
potential,
advantage
but exploring that potential is always our challenge. And as you noted there, the Trump impact is also even in the copper space. But thank you so much for your time, analyst with financial derivatives company, Teva Kumeka.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now let's head to South Africa, where African motorists are set for significant petrol and diesel cost increases when the next fuel adjustment takes effect, and that will be next month, February 5, and they most likely will be paying more. The latest numbers released by the Central Energy Fund are showing significant under-recoveries for both fuel types, pointing to increases of about 88 cents for 95 unleaded petrol and 95 cents for 93 unleaded, while diesel is looking set for hikes of between 1 rand 8 cents and 1 rand 11 cents. Not looking good for South Africans there, because that will increase the cost of transportation. Now, still in South Africa, the government has increased its pay offer to public sector workers to 5.5% from 5%, as it seeks to end wage talks that began in September. The latest offer presented at a special council meeting is very progressive, they describe it, and it's for Public Servants Association of South Africa, which represents more than 245,000 workers in that country. Now we move to Kenya, where Kenya is in discussions with the United Arab Emirates, that's the UAE, to extend its standard gauge railway SGR to Uganda and South Sudan. The builds on Uganda's October agreement to finance a portion of the SGR Previously, plans for a Kenya-Uganda link stalled after China halted funding for Uganda's segment of the SGR. And from there, we move over to Egypt, where the Egyptian government said that the country's strategic wheat reserves is sufficient for 4 months of consumption. And this is reported by Al-Sharq Al-Wasat and official statement. Sugar reserves are enough for 13.5 months, vegetable oils for 6.3 months. And in January, the Egyptian State Agency had signed several agreements with European exporters on wheat supplies, including barter agreements. Finally, still in Egypt, ExxonMobil Corporation has made a significant natural gas discovery in the Mediterranean Sea off Egypt's northern coastline, marking a critical development for the energy sector and Egypt's ambitions to restore its natural gas production. So congratulations to Egypt, but not congratulations to crypto. I see you in red, Laddie.
It depends from where your entry point
okay. There's always a factor.
If you're buying, at the top. But it's multiple colors there we see in the market right now. So finally, Trump is president, been sworn in. What next? At this point, is the market going to just go to rest? Well, let's find out. Let's talk to Rume Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume. Hello, Rume.
Good afternoon, Laddie. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rume. So it's all said and done now. Trump is president. We're seeing pullbacks with his meme coin and with the Melania's meme coin also. So is this the dream, the crypto dream, so far? Is that what's playing out?
What is going on so far right now with all of the memes coming out? It's further making it look like Gary Gensler was right all along, because the proliferation of meme coins, even from Mr. President, his wife, and also I saw earlier on Twitter, for X, formerly Twitter, at some point, that even the pastor that conducted the prayer is also launching his meme coin. Is very embarrassing. It's not good at all to the space. It only shows that, or confirm that the industry is still in the wild, wild west. It's not good, and I think a good time to hit regulation running.
Right, and from his speeches yesterday, no mention of Bitcoin, no mention about fight. That's from the inaugural speeches and decrees. How's the crypto community taking that?
A couple of persons actually didn't see that coming, but as market participants, we saw that the Trump news are actually be exhausted. What is going to happen most likely, which actually happened, was a situation whereby Biden rumor said the news, where he's obviously, politicians are politicians everywhere in the world, so I wasn't really expecting, for those that are new into crypto, they were expecting him to mention crypto or maybe the Bitcoin reserve thing, but he didn't, because it's most likely potentially going to pull some market sentiment, but it is enough for before the inauguration. We see that the market was excited. There has to be some profit taking, and it only shows that President Trump only used the crypto wave to gain attraction from the crypto community, to get a vote and move on. We understand that he has made certain statements, but the truth is that we need to understand that campaign promises are not policies. Campaign promises are not policies. These things are done everywhere in the world to win votes, to win emotions. Right now, the work has started. Let's see what will happen in the next 100 days. But I think those that are new to crypto will be carried away to think that it will just continue going up and up because a president tried to align towards crypto. And a lot of things are going to happen. I really don't see anything that will excite the market forward, because all of this has been exhausted and the market has to come down for a possible regulation issues start coming up, putting framework, then the market start going up again, because a whole lot of the time now, a couple of these meme coins have actually extracted profit from some of these altcoins, and it has gone the way we don't even expect or see where the weeks and months are going to end.
Okay, yeah, interesting times, definitely in the crypto market. Thank you so much, Romeo. We'll keep tracking to see how it plays out, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it. President Trump.
Did rumor just imply
Yeah.
that President Trump played
Used
the fast
the
one
crypto community.
on crypto community?
That's what he's saying.
Did it just imply that?
Yeah, it seems.
I think we're going to investigate that.
Yeah, we'll see if Trump continues to ignore Bitcoin.
The crypto community.
The crypto community.
All right, Ladi, thank you. Well, interesting times in the world, especially with President Donald Trump on the seats at the White House. We'll see how that continues to reverberate around the world. That's the much we can take here on Business Incorporated. We'll do it again tomorrow, but before then, join me for the stock market report tonight. I'm John McCall.